Hi, my name is Dhruv Parthasarathi. I'm the director of the self-driving car engineering Nanodegree here at Udacity. We have three incredible guests for you today, all experts in the industry. But before we get into that, I wanted to thank you all who are on the live stream for joining us. For those of you in October, welcome to your first day of class. It's going to be an incredibly exciting day. This is one of many events, and we hope to see you at the others. For those of you who will be joining us in a later cohort, see you then, and we hope to stay in touch with you and hear about your adventures over the next couple months. So this is your chance to talk directly to three leading industry partners who are working on autonomous vehicles today and leading the cutting edge. Really take the time to ask questions on our YouTube live chat, and we'll be asking these questions directly to them during the course of this interview. Before we get started, I'd like to have them introduce themselves. Axel, perhaps you could start and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thank you for asking. My name is Axel Gören. I'm head of autonomous driving at Mercedes-Benz Research and Development North America. Actually, we have a very long history in autonomous driving already. And personally, I started working on autonomous cars 18 years ago at Mercedes, so with my master thesis. And yeah, during the time, I think we achieved a lot of nice things like the stop-and-go pilot and the drive pilot we have introduced in our series production cars. And I'm glad to be head of autonomous driving here in North America, in Sunnyvale, located in Sunnyvale, California. And we started that group 3 years ago, and we have grown it now from 7 people to almost 6 complete teams. And yeah, and we are still growing. And I'm really excited about it.
Wow, very cool. Awesome, thank you. Drew, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. So I'm Drew Gray. I'm an engineering lead at Auto. Auto formed in January. We were working on autonomous trucking. And if you've seen recent news, we actually just pulled off the first autonomous trucking delivery ever. The best part, it was a beer run. So we delivered for partner with Anheuser-Busch. We delivered 120 miles, no one in the driver's seat, 50,000 beers. Recently, Auto was actually acquired by Uber. So now we're working on autonomous trucking, autonomous driving, sort of autonomous technology in general.
Cool. And can you tell us where you're located again?
We're located in San Francisco. We also have an office now in Pittsburgh and in Palo Alto.
Okay, very cool. David?
Sure. My name is David Bello. So I'm technical lead at McLaren Applied Technologies. And McLaren Applied Technologies is a division of McLaren. So we are a sister company of McLaren Racing that's involved in the F1 business, and McLaren Automotive in the high-performance road cars. But we're, for all intents and purposes, a separate company, all of us headquartered in London. Applied Technologies is about 400 people, most of them in London, but there's also a few other offices, one here in San Francisco, another in North Carolina, and another in Singapore as well.
Wow, very cool.
And autonomous vehicles represents a challenge that we're excited and serious about. Our experience is in safety-critical hardware and software design and safety testing systems. So I think there's a lot of things that we can contribute.
Okay, awesome. So our first question comes from Matthew Zimmer. Matthew, if you're on the stream, thank you for the question. Matthew asks, what are the toughest challenges you are currently faced with, which self-driving car Nanodegree graduates can help you solve? Axel, do you want to start us off on this?
Yes, I'd like to start. Yeah, I think we have a whole lot of challenges in the field, technical challenges. Just take into account when we have bad weather conditions, for example, we have rain, we have snow, it's dark, and so on. These are real challenges to our systems. In general, we have to say we have to reach the hurdle that we have to be at least as safe as a human driver with our autonomous system. And that is already a big hurdle, because even if people are distracted, they are doing, in general, a pretty good job at driving.
And where would you say most autonomous vehicle companies are today?
I think if you look at the advanced driver assistance systems, and they are typically switching off early because you always have the driver taking over. If you see that and the gap to a completely fully autonomous driving system, it's a pretty big gap right now, and we are all working hard to achieving that goal.
Okay, thank you so much. David, do you want to talk a little bit about what McLaren Applied Technologies is doing and where you could use the most help?
Yeah. I think part of the problem, to expand on that as well, I totally agree with the same points, there's a lot of technical challenges, but those aren't just limited to the development of technologies that will assist in driving functions, but also technologies that will evaluate and measure the safety. So actually safety testing is a big thing, and quantification of safety is sort of like the natural thing to lead from there. So if you can quantify safety and then quantify risk, that's really valuable, both for public acceptance, to certification, regulatory issues. So if you're taking this course and you're looking at all the technologies that go into self-driving cars, keeping in mind that you have to test that and quantify that, and finding ways, novel ways of doing this, because we don't have the tools right now to tackle this problem. I think that would set you apart. That would be really valuable information and things that the industry is struggling with.
Okay, awesome. Drew?
Yeah, so I definitely agree safety is the number one concern. The question you asked is like, what makes an autonomous vehicle unsafe, right? And it's not super profound, it's pretty easy. You can't hit anything. So one big technical challenge we have is largely in the perception layer. So how do you perceive the environment, and how do you make the right choices based off of what you see? It's really easy for us to do that. So one thing that I think this course is really helping with is it's starting right with computer vision and deep learning, which is sort of transforming the whole world of computer vision, and it's something that I work personally on and I'm helping with the course. And what that's doing is once you know what's around you, right, you can make a lot safer decisions. So like sort of the planning and control part is really interesting and really difficult problems, and this course will actually get into that in future modules. But we start off, I think, with the right thing, which is understanding the environment and perceiving what's around you. And all of that is, of course, to make the driving safe.
Okay, awesome. Thank you all for your answers. We have a lot of students around the world. What makes Udacity unique as an education institution is that we really are international. There are no geographical boundaries to join us. So a lot of our students from Asia, Europe, Africa, South and North America are interested in finding out about how they can get involved in self-driving cars in their respective home countries. So with regards to that, one question I wanted to ask you is, does your company hire remote workers? And if yes or no, how does your company recruit and hire internationally? David, maybe you can start.
Sure. We are a medium-sized company. We're McLaren total, including F1 and the road car business. We're about just under 3,000 people, and we share resources in finding talent and acquiring talent. We've been fortunate enough that from a road car and an automotive perspective and a racing perspective, talent tends to come to us. We haven't had to deal with too many work permit issues and things like this, because we can leverage all of the workforce from Europe. So that's how we've been doing it so far, is basically not having to hire from other countries. But we now have growing presences in the US, and if we have to hire from other countries, we will. It's just a case-by-case basis, essentially.
Okay, very cool. Drew, what about what you and
Yeah.
Otto are doing?
So Otto, now that we're with Uber, right? Uber is a pretty global company, and we definitely, I think, the majority of our software team is actually here on green card or visa, so we certainly hire from other countries. Right now, though, I would say because your hands are on the hardware and you're building these things and testing, and honestly, if you're working with self-driving cars, that's what you want to be doing. It's easier if you're here meaning one of our 3 offices currently. But in the future, as we expand, we're totally open to opportunities anywhere.
Okay,
Yeah.
awesome. Axel?
So Mercedes itself is a global acting company, right? So we have our headquarters in Germany, in Stuttgart area. We have facilities for Mercedes-Benz Research and Development North America here in Sunnyvale, in Michigan, in Long Beach, Los Angeles area, and so on. But we also have development going on in China. We are growing pretty fast there. We have India. We have also a smaller office in Tokyo. So we are a global acting company. In terms of autonomous driving, we are focusing on Germany and Silicon Valley right now, but nevertheless, we are hiring worldwide, and yeah, that's it.
Okay, awesome. So our next question comes from Manuel. Manuel asks, if you're on the live stream, thank you again for the question, Manuel. Yes, can you describe the type of positions that you're looking to fill specifically? So are there certain fields within the autonomous vehicle industry that you're looking for experts? Maybe you could start us off, Drew.
Yeah. So first, one thing I love about working on self-driving cars is if you're interested in robotics, which I think like a lot of our students are here, right? You sort of touch every cool thing about robotics. So you have perception and computer vision and planning and control and actuation. So we're really hiring in all of those spaces. You know, to make a self-driving car, you have to put all those things together.
Mm-hmm.
So there isn't really one area I think that we need the most help in. If you know what you're doing and you have experience and can help in anywhere in that stack, I think then you'll be really valuable.
Okay. And in terms of expertise, are you looking for students who have a similar amount of knowledge across a wide range of areas, or are you looking for people who are specialized? Is there a certain profile that suits your company better than others?
I think both are actually really valuable. So sort of wide and not deep, you know how to stitch things together, and that's a really valuable skill.
Mm-hmm.
But then in addition, as you grow teams, you know, like you get a computer vision specialist, you want someone that can go really deep in that area. So both are really valuable.
Axel, what do you think?
I would completely agree what he said. So it's pretty similar to us. We have a work distribution with how we share the work with our German colleagues. We are in Germany. We are more focused on environment perception, sensors like cameras, lidar and radar, and so on. And here in the Silicon Valley, we are focusing on sensor fusion, localization, mapping, maneuver planning, and trajectory planning, and so on. And that's why we are looking all in general on a broad range worldwide, but nevertheless, yes, we are focusing on some specific stuff here. Also having deep knowledge in certain areas, but also broader knowledge, a general understanding of autonomous driving to get that integrated and so on.
Got it. Cool. David?
Yeah, it's fairly the same answer. I think I can add in that at McLaren, we're sort of probably more on the hardware side. So it's trying to bridge the gap between traditional software engineers and people who are probably more in the Python and development of algorithm worlds, and bridging the gap with the safety critical layer and the low-level hardware. So if you can bridge that gap, and there's not a lot of people that we find that can, so it's a lot of internal development that needs to take place. People are busy in industry, so if you can bridge that gap and be both, on the high level and also have understanding of the low level safety critical implications, what you can do with the embedded target that you're working with, that's a really useful skill to have.
Okay, cool. On that note, a lot of students are asking how they can stand out from their other colleagues and other people who are interested in this field when they come and apply for jobs. Are there particular ways they can build their skill set more or make their portfolio look even better? Drew, maybe you could give some insight into what makes a candidate stand out from your perspective?
Yeah, what always impresses me is when people spend their own time learning a skill that they think will be valuable. And we just hired someone recently that had a day job, and then every night they would get home and was working on some open source software that just came out, and they wanted to teach themselves this framework. And during the interview, I said, "Are you currently using this for your job?" And they're like, "Oh no, I'm in ads or something. This is just something I wanted to learn." And that really stood out to me that they knew this would be a valuable skill. They were really interested in it, and they took their own time and spent some evenings learning the skill. And that really makes them stand out among other people who just happen to have the experience from a previous job, which is always good, except if you've really gone after it yourself, then that stands out.
So basically taking initiative and showing some motivation independently.
Yeah.
Cool. Axel, what do you think?
That's awesome if you have someone who's self-motivated very much. I think it's autonomous driving the best topic in the world right now. It's so great to work on. So, and if people are curious to understand it, learn new things in there, that's awesome. And you see that in the resume when they give you examples of projects they have worked on in their spare time and so on. That is really awesome. In addition, surely you have the classical career path like writing publications, writing patents and so on. That is in addition to that.
Okay, And David, do you have anything to add to that?
To add, I would say, to me, what would stand out would be, there's a lot of things changing in the industry right now. There's a lot of things that are not set in stone. Having the presence of mind to connect dots and see, being firstly familiar with what's going on as far as NHTSA guidelines and regulations, where the industry is headed, and have some diversity of thought to sort of see, add your 2 cents to see where things might be going and anticipate. I think that's a really valuable thing to demonstrate.
Okay.
Yeah, I've actually interviewed someone and I've asked them, why are you here? They're like, I'm not totally sure, but every smart person I know is trying to get a job on self-driving cars. And I feel like that's going to be a trend that's continuing. That's a good point.
Okay. I guess, given that there are so many intelligent people entering this field, and there are so many amazing companies in this field, a lot of our students are asking, how do we evaluate each of these companies and what makes your individual company stand out? So in particular, Matthew Zimmer has asked, what is your corporate culture like, and how does it differ from other companies' cultures in the autonomous vehicle industry? Drew, maybe you could start us off with that?
Yeah, our corporate culture is a startup. So if you haven't been part of a startup before, it's about time to get in. It's pretty crazy. It moves really fast. It's sort of everyone there has a piece of the company, and they feel like it's theirs, and it's important. So people, I think, will work a little bit harder and work a little bit longer than a job that they're just doing for a paycheck. And so some of that's really good, where you feel passion and you feel a lot of reason to go to work, and then the opposite side of it is sometimes you can get a little burnt out at working companies like this. So, but our company, most people feel like they're really part of it, and it's really valuable for them to show up to work.
Okay, awesome. David, what do you think?
I mean, our heritage and our DNA is in motorsports. So we're a lot of people who share a lot of passion for what they do. So we've been trying to harness that and take it to other industries. So we get involved in technically stimulating projects. We do these things because we want to do them. We feel motivated to impact these technologies. So it's certainly not a corporate environment. It's also not a startup. We've been around for 50 years, but we are a small, nimble company, young, diverse, and we like to do things with ambitious things. So I think ambition is like the one thing that stands out. There's a lot of freedom of technical thought, like nothing gets shut down, as wild as it may seem at first. And we get involved in different projects, from autonomous vehicles to racing cars to healthcare and energy. So it's a bit, wherever there's an interesting technical challenge that we think we can do something about, we get involved, and it's pretty liberating.
Oh, sounds pretty exciting. Cool. Axel?
Yeah, actually Mercedes is a pretty traditional company. Yeah, we are there on the market already pretty long, but nevertheless we are trying to balance that between the tradition and the solid understanding of mechanics and how to build a car, vehicle dynamics and so on, and having that startup environment we are having, at least in my Silicon Valley office. Right. So in the department I'm working in, we are trying to be as agile as all the startup companies out there. So we try to balance that. Combine the best of both worlds, at least.
Okay, very cool. We have a few questions now from our YouTube chat, so people who are on, so thank you again and hello. The first question is fairly technical. It comes from Ankit Arya. So the question is, do all computer vision positions tend to require heavy expertise in C++? Since most of the Nanodegree coursework is in Python, would that be an issue? Maybe you can start us off, Drew?
Yeah, I think Python and C++ both have benefits, where Python is really easy to manipulate a lot of data. So a lot of people will be loading images and will maybe prototype in this language. But the difficulty in computer vision is always the speed of execution in runtime. So you want about 30 frames per second. And a lot of computer vision algorithms are really slow because they operate on pixels, and there's millions of pixels. Right. So C++ in deployment is always a way to go. So the algorithm can basically run fast enough.
Okay, very cool. Axel, we have another question from Alexander Krasnov, who's from Ukraine. Hello, Alexander. Alex asks, what are the main criteria of allowing self-driving cars in some countries besides legal stuff? Is it road markings, quality, driving culture? Are there some things that make countries more predisposed to self-driving cars than others?
Well, the structured environment is a pretty big thing. So if I imagine driving in inner city Beijing or somewhere in India, the hurdle is much, much bigger than if you have a very structured environment, such as in cities here in California in the US. So
Could you elaborate on why a little?
Yeah, well, people are violating the rules whenever they want to in some areas and so on, and they are speeding, they are doing everything crazy on the street. You cannot imagine what you can see on the roads if you drive there. So that is pretty difficult on the one side, and I think we should, it will evolve over time. So we will start with a more structured environment, probably do some geofencing if you go to inner city traffic scenarios, and later on evolve increase in other areas and adding more maneuvers and so on.
Awesome, cool. David, I think this question would be great for you. So Stu Smee asks, would there be any jobs suitable for hardware engineers or someone with experience in verification engineering?
Absolutely.
What do you think? Go ahead.
Absolutely. I mean, we have job openings right now that you'll see on our website relating to that. And that is where we're focused the most right now. And moving forward is still going to be attached to the hardware side and being able to, like I said earlier, develop protocols and frameworks to be able to, and also certification. There's a lot of certification in place for automotive standards that apply to autonomous vehicles, but they're not adequate. And industry is sort of adhering to their own best standards and best practices. But for public perception again and acceptance and things like that, we're going to have to do a lot of work in developing new certification standards, new testing protocols, and it's going to be revolving around C++ testing and deployment and testing of embedded systems. So very much so, verification and testing of hardware is a big thing, and there's a lot of jobs at McLaren for that.
All right. Do either of you have anything to add on that?
No, I think you're right. Yeah, software, like self-driving cars, is half software, half hardware. A lot of people talk about software the most because it's some of the most difficult challenges right now. But there's still the other half is always hardware.
Okay.
And there's a lot of rigorous testing associated with that probably comes as a surprise to a lot of software engineers transitioning into the automotive industry.
Right. Yeah. So we have a pretty open-ended, wild question here. This is from Deepak, who's also on our live stream, so thank you again. His question is, what is the future of self-driving racing cars? Maybe I'd like to just open this up to everyone. Maybe you can start us off, David.
Sure.
What do you think?
I don't know about the entertainment model of self-racing cars, but I think it's, in all seriousness, it's a great opportunity to make racing relevant again for road cars. And I think that there's a lot of corollaries between racing and exploring the vehicle dynamic limits of a car and ensuring the highest performance accident avoidance control algorithm that you can possibly develop. There's a lot of corollaries between racing and that. So there's a lot of things that we can glean off of racing that can have direct impact on road cars. So I think it's a fascinating prospect for me because I know it will actually increase the relevance of motorsports for road cars.
Cool. Axel, is Mercedes involved at all in the future of racing cars as well?
We are not involved in the robot cars, robot racing right now. I think I completely agree. You learn how a vehicle behaves and how you have to model a vehicle, and that is basically the foundation for all autonomous cars too. So if you know the limits of your car and can predict them, you can basically develop the best collision avoidance systems in the world.
Fair enough.
I'm just interested in solving the first problem.
What's that better time?
Yeah, once we get self-driving cars solved, then let's move on and race them.
Okay. Awesome. We'll take one more question. This is from Boone Logic. His or her question is pattern recognition for video a key to applications, and where would machine learning apply for non-supervised learning? Anyone interested in taking this question in particular?
Yeah, I think that goes back to my original discussion about how perception is really difficult. So machine learning plays a huge role in perception. because it's a lot more difficult for humans to sort of take apart of what we're doing in our minds and how we're applying it to driving. You know, like you start with, okay, well I look at the lanes, but if you're driving on the highway and the lanes instantly disappear, no one's going to crash. Like everyone knows where to go. So like, what else are we looking at? Probably some cars. And then the cars disappear, you're still going to drive fine. So this exercise is going to keep continuing, but you can take these algorithms, right, and feed those into machine learning, or this data, feed it into machine learning, and these algorithms will figure out all of that without needing to explicitly tell it what to look at. So I think that's why that's powerful in video processing.
And I want to add one thing. If you see the progress the last couple of years in that field of deep learning, it's awesome. It's like a revolution, right?
Yeah.
So I think we have the first neural networks in our cars. We started with that almost 10 years ago.
Wow.
But how that evolved over time, that's awesome. And breathtaking, yeah, definitely.
Okay, cool. I lied. I have one more question that I wanted to ask. Sorry. This question is, do any autonomous cars communicate with each other yet in order to speed up the traffic flow, or are we not there yet? Do any of you have any thoughts on this or any answers here?
I can jump in.
Yeah.
They do talk to each other, not cross-company yet.
Okay.
Maybe in the future, but there's no sort of critical mass yet that could ever affect the traffic.
Right.
But that's certainly really interesting research, and I think it's obvious it'll improve the traffic once you reach that critical mass.
So where do you see that going? So what kind of communication do you think would help out?
Well, if you look at sort of traffic flow studies, you can see that even something as simple as if your adaptive cruise controller is aware with a car behind you, and you sort of split that difference, instead of just follow the car in front of you, you'll actually ease out those waves, and this is like a pretty naive implementation. You can imagine that there's a traffic jam 2 miles ahead out of sight, and your car will already know, slow down 5 miles an hour. And by the time you get there, you know, you can clear sort of that wave effect.
Very cool. Axel?
Yeah, I think communication will make traffic more smooth and so on. It's nice to have, but it's a comfort issue. People are selling it like a safety issue. The problem is, as long as you do not have, let's say, 80% of the vehicles equipped with the car-to-car communication system, it doesn't really help in terms of safety, because you cannot rely on it. Yeah.
And the same with infrastructure as well, not just vehicle to vehicle, but vehicle to infrastructure. They're nice to haves, but I don't think anybody is relying on those systems or attempting to rely on the systems at the moment.
Yeah, but it's a nice way of introducing it, because you get to add vehicles with the infrastructure communication, but it's expensive at the end. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Thank you again so much. Thank you to everyone who tuned in. We really appreciate your questions and you being here. And again, we really, really appreciate your time. I think everyone had a lot of fun hearing about self-driving cars and what's going on from your end. So thank you again.
Thank you.
Thanks.
And thank
Thank
you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.